Happy Friday, and welcome back to The Designated Designer, a podcast by designers for designers and clients alike. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about something a little different, being different. So it's just really been on my mind a lot lately, this whole idea of like being different and settling into being a business owner. And it is like really weird and uncomfortable being a business owner when like you're not surrounded by other business owners, because I talked to my one client this week, and this is honestly kind of where all of this started to spin around in my head. Is like, this client of mine comes from an entire family of business owners. Like literally, their dad is a business owner. Their uncles are business owners. They are a business owner. So it's like they come from this family of other business owners, and it's like they all get to talk about business and numbers and bottom lines and all that weird, nerdy, quirky stuff that we talk about as business owners. But when no one in your family or close friend group is a business owner, it can kind of feel lonely. And sometimes in that case, it is hard to be different. So I wanted to dedicate an episode to that and kind of how I'm navigating it in my own way, because like this is all super new to me and it's kind of tough. So I'm just going to talk about my experience, if that's okay. Grab a seat, grab a snack, and a drink of choice, and let's talk about being different. So you ever have those moments where you like realize how different you actually are? Not in like a quirky fun fact about me kind of way, but like in a deep existential, like, wow, I really took the road less traveled, huh? Kind of way, because that's where I've been at lately. Being a business owner, it means you already made the choice that most people are never going to make in their entire lifetime. You know, I feel like lately, me and my business, it's this like heavy weight kind of feeling. Like it weighs on you being different, and like having to do it every single day can kind of be exhausting. And I've been feeling this a lot with like, I'm kind of trying to start looking after my personal health. So I have like health goals where I want to like go so many steps a day and have so many minutes of active time a day. And it's like really, really hard to stick to. And it's a pain in the ass, but I do it anyway because it's something like I want to do for myself. And it's like when I would do that in my head, I'm like, I'm being different. You know, this is something that not the general population really does, is like having to show up every freaking day, and it's really hard. But I do it anyway, and sometimes it kind of feels weird to be different. So I wanted to talk about that in today's episode. So let's start with the obvious. Nobody forced us into our business ownership. Nobody tricked us into leaving the 9-to-5 grind for this absolute roller coaster of a ride that is entrepreneurship. We made that conscious decision to step off the conveyor belt of predictability. And I've really come to a lot of realization lately that the world is like designed to keep you comfortable. And that like makes me uneasy. I don't know about anybody else, but it like makes me uneasy to come to that realization. And it's why most people do the same thing every day for years and years and years without questioning it. It's why the idea of leaving that security freaks people the hell out. And the truth is, the system wasn't built for people like us. Society's plan is pretty simple when you look at it. Go to school, get a job, work for somebody else, pay your bills, be good, follow the rules, retire, and then that's it. It's safe. It's predictable, it's all mapped out for you, and it's easy. But we took a look at that and we said, fuck no. We chose uncertainty, risk, and freedom over comfort. And with that choice comes a lot of mental battles, and nobody really prepares you for that part. And honestly, lately, I've had so many thoughts whirring around in my head about all of this, and it kind of gets overwhelming. And I don't really have too many people to talk to about it. So I'm just going to talk to myself on this podcast, and maybe it'll help somebody else out there that's kind of going through the same thing in their head and doesn't have anybody to talk to. So I also wanted to address this idea of instant success. Okay. A lot of my business growth and business development and trying to figure out what direction is the right way to go in, because nobody tells you. It's like you start your business, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know where you're going, so you hop online and you look at other people that are doing it and you hope that, you know, they're guiding you in the right direction, but you really don't know for sure. And one of the things that I've been seeing a lot recently, like over and over and over in the design influencer world, is this idea of like, just don't fail. I started my business and it's really difficult, and every single day is uncertain, and you never know what's going to happen. And everything is just always so up in the air, and it's scary and it's hard to deal with every day. Like that, not knowing what you're fighting for or when it's going to pay off. And it's really hard. So I went to the online sources to kind of start to see some people talking about this kind of struggle in the industry. And while I found a lot of good stuff and a lot of helpful stuff, the one theme that I saw repeating over and over was this idea of like, just don't fail. If you feel like your business isn't doing good enough and, you can't pay your bills and you have to look your partner in the eye and tell them that you can't pay rent, or, you have to look your old boss in the eye and ask them for a job back, and that's humiliating and degrading. So just don't fail, and just light a fire under your butt and get to it. And while that works for some people, okay, I'm not going to deny that it doesn't. I'm sure that kind of mentality works for some people. But the thing is, it doesn't work for everybody. This just the same way that branding is nowhere near a one-size-fits-all approach. Everything is custom. There is a certain level of succeeding with a creative career. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. Something that worked for somebody isn't necessarily going to work for somebody else. And it's like, I see this repeating so much online, and it's just been driving me crazy because I feel like, I'm not trying hard enough. I'm not pushing myself hard enough. And if I'm not doing as good as I need to be, well, it's my fault. And it just got really toxic for me. So I start looking at this, and I want to break down my mental journey through navigating through all of this, because really, I feel like we are constantly bombarded with these perfectly curated, shiny success stories from other creatives online. Just charge more. Just work smarter, not harder. Just use my method and you'll be booked out for months if you buy my template and guide. And if you're in the grind and you're pushing yourself to your actual limit every single day like I've been doing, and you're not seeing those picture perfect results, it makes you feel like you're the problem. Like you must be doing something wrong. Like everyone else has the secret to making this easy and you're just lost, or you're not meant to keep up. But let me tell you something. None of that's real. Nobody's showing their failures. Nobody's talking about the launches that flopped, the leads they lost, the months that they made less than they did working at Starbucks. Nobody's talking about the mental breakdowns at 2 o'clock in the morning because invoices aren't adding up. They just show the wins, the highlight reel. And when you're drowning in everyone else's success, it can make you feel like you're sinking while everyone else is effortlessly swimming. But the reality looks a hell of a lot different. So how did all of this come to be, might you ask? And where am I going with all of this? And why all of a sudden? And why is my brain spinning a million miles a minute? Well, I recently found Chapel Roan. And I know that this is going to sound so cheesy, but like reading her story, because like I really didn't know who she was. Like I heard her name everywhere because she was getting really popular after the whole Pink Pony Club song. But I really had no idea who she was. So a couple days ago, I was like, screw it. And I just Googled it and I read through her story. And honestly, so many parts of it, like I related to, and this sparked all of this, like, it's not picture perfect, it's not this story of just don't fail. It is this story of her failing over and over and over and just never giving up. And that changed everything for me, because lately I have just been spiraling in this like self-hatred, toxic mentality of like, I'm not trying hard enough and the cost of not doing it, and I just have to push myself harder, and I'm just not working hard enough. Meanwhile, I'm putting in like 60-hour to 80-hour work weeks and just I never leave my computer anymore. And it's really been getting me down. It's taking creativity from me, and I'm just trying to figure out how to not feel so shitty. And After reading her story, it was like this night and day difference I noticed in myself, because instead of it being this, just don't fail, just push yourself harder, just work harder, just don't fail. And I don't thrive well in that. Her story was failing over and over and never giving up. And that is something that I can relate to. She didn't wake up one day and just become successful. She got signed and she got dropped. She had to move back home. She worked odd jobs to get by. She kept putting out music for years before people even knew who she was. And most people honestly probably would have quit, but she didn't. She just kept going. She just kept creating. She just kept making art and kept being herself. And now she's killing it, but only because she didn't let those failures define her. And that's the real game here. It's not about avoiding failure. Just don't fail. It's about outlasting it. It's about having the grit to keep showing up even when it feels like nothing that you're doing is working. And if you need proof, look at her. Look at anyone who's made it. None of them skipped the struggle. None of them avoided failure. They just refused to let failure be their final chapter. So let me just leave you guys with this. If you feel like you're failing right now, if you're not where you want to be, if the wins feel far and few between, if it feels like you're pushing yourself to the brink while everyone else is just out there thriving effortlessly online, you're not alone. You're just in the middle of an endurance test. And that's exactly what this is. It's not a sprint, it's an endurance game. Because the truth is, life's not a race, it's a journey. And I'm in the process of learning that right now. Because the ones who make it, they aren't necessarily the most talented. They aren't the ones with a perfect strategy or the biggest audience. They're the ones who just didn't quit. They got knocked down, they got back up again and again and again. And as long as you don't quit, as long as you keep showing up, learning, adapting, staying in that game, you'll make it. So if you're feeling that fear, that questioning, that am I really cut out for this that I'm going through right now? Just remember, you already made the hardest choice. You already left the safe path behind. And that means you've got it in you to keep going. So get out there and dare to be different. It's not just a one-time thing. It's a daily decision. And I promise you, it does get easier. The more you choose yourself, the more you'll realize this was always the right choice. So stay bold, stay weird, keep pushing yourself, and most of all, keep going. Because this isn't about not losing. It's about not giving up. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this week's episode, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.